Let's go to work, 'cause I'm tripping. Gotta work on myself, 'cause I'm falling apart. Please wake me up, 'cause I'm slipping. Can't fight this feeling off no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above it all. Meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all. I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again. Yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again. So sweet again. Above it all, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all. I never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Let it go. And I start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again. Oh, na na, oh na 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh na 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, but now I know what I need to do. Oh na 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh na 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, but now I know what I need to do.
It's her tent, though. It says her tent. L'chaim. L'chendo l'chaim hortenta. Hortensia l'chaim l'chendo l'chandaho. I'm learning Hebrew. None of that was Hebrew. It was all Jiddish, right? That's a good way to call it, is Jiddish. Good morning, all. Welcome to the Showarino. I am Mr. Rock, your host. Welcome to Reality Island. Boy, even that word reality doesn't really mean what it used to mean anymore, does it? That's yeah, we gotta come up with a better word. Zetetic Island. Welcome to Zetetic Island. It is good to have you. Am I muted? I don't think I'm muted, guys. I think everything's good. Lots of bees here. Look at all these electrons, calories being donated into the chat for each other. The alms for each other of coming into the chat. If you're watching the chat, you're watching the electrons of fingers giving you a gift, saying, "Hey, I'm here. I see you. You see me. We see each other." And James, what do you mean it's her tent? And I knew when I leaked that this is just a part of a very small inkling of an idea that I want to cover. I'm still not muted. Thank you, Liberty Vibrant. And I knew that by leaking that tiny motif, I would watch and learn the same lesson that I've known for so long now. And I came through. Those of you who wrote, I genuinely appreciate your writing and the reaction that you had to that. Is part of what makes this Sophia busking. I'm busking Sophia, is what I'm doing. I'm a sophist. I'm peddling my wisdom on the street. And I knew that if I only dropped this little thread that it would be dismissed immediately as, well, that's because you're just learning Hebrew, James. And because you're just learning Hebrew, I bet you that there's some law in Hebrew that says that the her and the his is actually this way, but you just haven't learned that law yet. And, with that punctuation rule, that it is written. It is written. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you think that I have no filter at all, that I would literally just randomly grab things and say, hey, this pen is gray, therefore space isn't real. And I know that there are a lot of people that actually do that. I am not one of those people. I'm not one of those people. A lot of calories goes into the saying of things here. It doesn't mean they're right. It does not. You are still required by your personal code, right? You are still required to prune my lips. That becomes an absolute necessity here. Wouldn't it be great if other places, if other places also had that same requirement, but we actually have this idea called news. Can we stop calling it news? Can we stop? My dog, he will take a steaming poop. And yes, it's technically new. It is technically fits the category of new. But we are serving that on plates to each other. And we're excited about it. Do you know why we're excited about it? Because it's new. The freshness. We are slaves to the freshness. It means not what is on the plate. It is simply a matter of what is fresh. And do you know who acts like this? Pigs. Pigs do this. This is the very expression itself, right? That the swallowing happens in a pig's life regardless of what's on the plate. Do you know why? It's because it's what's new. I'd like to give a special shout out to Raina. This is at no means at all to be any kind of offense to that fine companion that I know listens to us right now. I hope that we're all willing to kind of, we all got to do our part. Any of you have a pet hyena, you've probably stopped watching a long time ago. But we do this same thing. We are so attracted to this idea of new. And I want you to know that I am the anti-new. I'm the dude that's saying, hey, look at this old thing. Did you notice that everyone thought that we were eating this, but actually we were eating this? And that is new, right? But I'm only bringing you these things because they have some clout. They have some clout. And I'm telling you that not only does the translate English to Hebrew that I showed you, when you go to, if you're curious, Google translate English to Hebrew. And once you're there, put in the English column, put her tent, and it'll automatically translate it. And I want you to look at the last character, which keep in mind, Hebrew reads right to left. So the last character is a ha, ha, ha. That's if her tent is ha. And then if you just change that to his tent, just change it to his tent. Just change it, right? That ha goes away. It changes to a Lamech, and then see this. I'm still learning Hebrew. It's the nail. Vov. I'm pretty sure it's Vov. And that nail is male. You could think of it. I'm not saying this is the rule, but if you look this up, you'll find that the Vav is male. It's got a little wee-wee. It's like, look, I got a little wee-wee. I'm a male. And then the ha, that's the hymen, right? Okay, I'm connecting those two words together, but it's that's the feminine part of that. I didn't just like make that up. Like Like it's a lot of people think that. I listened to other people, and when I listened, I was like, that sounds like bullshit, yo. This sounds like some kind of like rainbow agenda, where people are infiltrating my religion, and they're coming into my Bible trying to insert their transhumanistic ideas. That's what I think. That's what I thought. My man Bear Pig was like, well, I reject this completely. Her tent? What the hell are you talking about, my friend? I don't know who you're messing with around here, but I know my Bible, right? That's the man Bear Pig thought on that. And the man Bear Pig has been listening to the Bible their whole life in English. The entire time. The entire story. All of it. And we're missing some really valuable words. More importantly, a lot of really valuable words have been conflated, confused. You realize that Martin Luther, right? Martin Luther, I will nail these rules upon the church door that says all of us, every one of us peasants, deserves our own Bible. You must translate this Bible for us. Martin Luther had to drink a lot of water because of that voice. And the people are like, yeah, we demand our own Bible. And so Martin Luther translates the Bible. And the fucker doesn't even realize that the dots that are underneath the name of God, Yahweh, that those dots, which are giving him the clue for how to pronounce the sacred tetragrammaton, right? The sacred name, teaching him how to say Adonai, that he's using the vowel clues not for Yahweh, but for Adonai, which means Lord. So he translates it wrong. Wrong. And all of us are like, oh, Martin Luther, he insisted that we understand the truth, the true word of God. And he mistranslated it for you. And he gave it to you, and all of us are wandering around just ripping off our clothes going, Martin Luther, you saved my religion from the oppressive Latin regime. And all he did was, he goes, we're going to take the third language it was translated into and create a fourth. Yes, a fourth language. That will clear it up, and then all of us will know the word of God. All of us will, right? And we're walking around pretending that that's cool. All of us are walking around society pretending that that's legit. And now we're like, oh, Jehovah. Oh, Jehovah. Thank you, Martin Luther. We're going to call God Jehovah. Jehovah's like, why are you calling me that? Bitch, my name ain't Jehovah. They didn't even have a J. Guys, you didn't even have a J. You weren't walking around. You weren't walking around going, hey, check it out. What? J, Jimmy, Gypster, Gibberino, Grass Jippers. We didn't even have a J. But now we're like, no, it's Jehovah, it's Jehovah, it's Jehovah. And this entire time, we're all walking around, pretending like this didn't happen. Pretending that what we claim to be the religious liberation by the word of God being given to us is actually transmuted into a fourth tongue that's even worse, that's even further off from the actual essence of the words that were there. I find this fascinating, and I find it fascinating that when you go back and you start the long, brutal process, and it's actually not brutal. Check it out. Martin Luther said, if I was younger, I would probably learn Hebrew. But I'm old, and I'm going to nail this to the door, and I'm going to translate it because everyone's going to be reading Martin Luther's translation, and I like that much better. Because he didn't have the fucking calories to say, hey, all the people don't get the sacred words of the Bible because of these Latin fucks. Does he go back? Does he go back? No. No, he pushes forward. He pushes forward, which shows you a motive that none of us discuss about Martin Luther. None of us discuss this motive that the true meaning of progress is movement from whence thy came. This is what we as society call progress. Progress is Well, where were you before? I was right there. And where are you now? I'm right here. Oh, well, you're making great progress. That's fantastic. And of course, on a rudimentary, elementary, like pre-kindergarten level, that is very much progress, right? We're like, oh my God, Billy took his first steps today. It's like, well, that's great, honey, but Billy's 38. Don't you discourage him. You know that's why Billy lives in our basement, because you've been discouraging him your whole life. And it's like, honey, Billy's 38. Billy's 38. We need to stop giving him so much praise for pooping. It's not that big of a deal. I know he's flushing the toilet. I'm happy about it too, honey. That's great, right? 5 years ago, we breached that gap. But Billy's 38. And we need to start acting a little different about this whole situation. And I'm telling you, that's the same kind of thing that we need to do now with our relationship to these books. And I want you to know that God is not the Bible. Oh, it's not. The Bible is an approach to God. And that approach to God only comes when we first deny that God is here. Oh, but the Trinity. The Trinity. Oh, but we've got the Trinity. And even the Trinity, even the retarded concept of the Trinity came 600 years after Martin Luther was like, hey, well, not 600, but a couple hundred years after Martin Luther's like, hey, yeah, because I don't know Hebrew, I thought I was the most qualified to translate the Bible. That's what happened. That's what happened. And meanwhile, his friend Meshuggah, the dude that could have been like, hey, stop saying Jehovah, stop saying that. You sound like an idiot. You're embarrassing yourself. That conversation never happened. And there was a beautiful opportunity that was missed. Why? Because we wanted to insist that we had progress. We had to insist we had progress. And what is progress? It's movement. It's movement. Right? Like Billy. Billy had a movement. I wonder if a Hebrew meant Noah was found in the prostitute's tent. No, yeah, I cannot wait. Cipriano, cannot wait to share with you what I've found by scratching the surface of the acacia. The acacia wood, used for the very Ark of the Covenant itself, was a wood that had very special properties. And I cannot wait to share these things with you. But I cannot today because I'm still reading. I'm still reading because I do not want you to have to prune my lips more than you already do. And I've got about 89 slides. That's too many that I need to break down into like 20. And we can talk about that very subject more. Noah. And that's why this her tent and his tent is just one small piece of this. It's just one small piece of it. Was Noah a tranny? No. Spoiler alert, no. No. I'm not going to tell you that Noah was a tranny, so don't worry, all right? Put the torch down. He might have been a hermaphrodite. He might have been. He definitely was an albino. And he was more than likely a giant. So, if you can handle all those things, that's fine. But there's a lot of not just when you translate, when you untranslate. That's what it is. Holy shit! You need to untranslate the Bible. You need to pull Martin Luther off this shit and be like, dude, what the fuck are you thinking? You need to pull all of the Council of Trent off of that. That was a bureaucracy. It was a Congress coming in deciding what this should say. And more importantly, we're going to have to go all the way back to Egypt. Because this idea of an ark, this very notion of what an ark stands for, at the very base, when you take it to the very, very back, it means chest. It means something protected. And I've told you guys before about Regulus. the astrology of Jesus. Remember the astrotheology of Jesus? We talked about Regulus and the three kings. And that those three kings were not the tilting of Orion, which is a great theory, it is, but that happens every year. And I don't think three wise men are like, hey, those same stars that are rotating, that rotate every year, they're rotating now. Oh my God, we should bring gifts and go somewhere and follow this other star and give them to some baby in a manger. That's not what happened. That you're looking at all of the giants, the luminary giants, passing through the chest. Regulus the star is the chest of Leo the lion, passing through that chest in such a way where they witnessed that something big, something profound was happening. And the star that they followed to the east was the congruence, the harmony of two of those luminary giants, close enough together to burn a signal around 3 to 5 AD, somewhere around there. Which means not only do we have to peel off Martin Luther, not only do we have to peel off the Latin Vulgate, not only do we have to pull off the Greek, not only do we have to remove the Hebrew, but even past the Sumerian, we find Kemet, and we have to peel off the Kemetics too. Remember Valley of the Kaz? All of this is related. Because the chest, Regulus of Leo, is the Sphinx. The chest of the Sphinx. The chamber underneath the Sphinx that Hawass, the Egyptian former Egyptian director of antiquities, says is not there. But we have drawings, we have photos, we have him coming out of the back anus. Anyway, that chest, that Regulus, had a stele inside of it. And not only did that stele mark a certain event, but underneath that was a covenant, a promise of preservation of information. And when you're looking at a world of cuneiform, right, where you take a clay mound and rub it in your fingers and you start carving on it, you understand that what makes all of this go away, all of your writing goes away from water. That water is the deluge that erases society completely. That when you're dealing with cuneiform like that, it's water that resets your world. You and I live in a time of light. All of our information is stored on the showing of or the hiding of silicon. That the silicon reacts to the light itself or it does not react to the light itself. That every modern storage device that we use has a technological form of melanin, this ink blotting ability that absorbs light, that hides it. And that the consecration of light and melanin applied together gives us the ability to see. This is Bereshit, in the beginning, the Genesis, right? It is the separation, is the ability to store and receive and recall light. It's the very first thing that has to be here in order for you and I to have a simulcast experience, a collective, shared, I'm gonna change it from a collective, shared, holodecical experience. And that the syncretism and the scaffolding of this earth shows you the code and the process at work. One of those things is the Great Flood. You have a dozen Great Flood stories in North American culture. You have Meshican culture, same thing. You have it in the Mediterranean, you have it in China. You have the resetting of written life on parchment with ink. What destroys that? Water. The resetting of civilization is built into the scaffolding of what we do. This is one of the reasons why Martin Luther does what he does. I'm not trying to put Martin Luther on a cross, although let's be honest. If Martin Luther would love for you to remember him as someone who died on a cross, he would. It's nothing wrong with that. It's a healthy thing. Just saying that it's ironic. This is not just about crucifying him. It's not. It's not even crucifying him. It's showing you the reason why we call success or progress, movement forward, is because of the scaffolding of the reset. Whether it be a flood, whether it be a light, whether it be a volcano, whether it be wind, whatever the destruction is, will be directly congruent to the way that society is storing information when it happens. And society is breathing itself up the stairs. It's blobbing itself up the stairs by throwing its fat rolls up every single step. And I use the word fat on purpose because in Genesis, the Hebrew actually is God fattened the waters. He fattened the earth, that he filled it. He filled it with a living jelly, a plasmatic conundrum of what used to be light that somehow was able to congeal into this solid state. And the congealing was probably the process of the witness of the light. Much like an oven, right? Much like reality itself. See, none of us have the ability to create a box, an ark. None of us have the ability to create an ark that lacks witness. I can build a box that has no lid. And inside that box, I can bring it to you, and now you have something that has no witness, because inside that box, you cannot witness what's inside that box. You can shake it, but you can't actually directly witness it. This will be the closest form of getting to this point. But until we can learn to create an ark and separate itself from witness itself and broadcast something into it or not into it, we will never be able to understand the nature of this place. We do not have a space where we lack witness. Even the quantum theory, even the double slit experiment proves this, by the way. And there's a brilliant talk on Neon Byte yesterday that mentioned this. And I politely disagree with one of the speakers on there, because that speaker was trying to say, well, it all comes back to human witness. A human needs to witness something. But actually, quantum theory doesn't actually say that. Quantum theory shows us that any witness collapses a wave. And that witness could be matter itself. That matter itself is capable of possessing witness. Now, you and I don't see it as a conscious living entity yet, because we consider it too rudimentary to qualify to sit with us at the adult table. We call it rock when it's a mineral. We call it matter when it's something so much more profound than that. But we just want to make progress. And instead of finding the truth of the matter, going back to the Hebrew, we'd rather translate it into our own language, because this way we can just decide what we want it to say. We can decide. We can decide. I think we're going to discover that the Ark of the Covenant was basically a chair, an Egyptian chair. And that the idea that is the mercy seat, that the Holy of Holies, the idea that the high priest would go into that chair, he alone, as of 200 BC, he alone actually knew the name of God. He's the only one who knew. That the priest decided in 200 BC that we were too vulgar to even know the name of God. And he took it away. Except for this one guy, the high priest. That high priest could step into the Holy of Holies, and what would be waiting for him but a throne, a chair, a cherub, herub. That idea is really just the griffin. The same word placed outside of the Garden of Eden is the same word for the chair, the mercy seat. But we don't actually know these things because we're following this Martin Luther. And you know what? We even stopped following Martin Luther. And most of the people that call themselves Christian now are actually translated again through Hollywood, i.e. Charlton Heston. That the God that we understand now hasn't just gone through that configuration, right? German, Latin, Greek, Hebrew, Sumerian, although those are pretty much the same. But it's kept going, right? King James, right? Remember a few faux pas that he added to the Bible too? All the way up through even Dante himself. All of them have changed the translation of the Bible. And even now, the Bible that you get in the hotel room is already far, far away from Martin Luther. That now there's Trinity in there. And I'm not even saying there's not a Trinity. I'm saying that if you really want to understand Elohim, you're going to have to understand that something is plural, but we cannot have plurality because we're supposed to be monotheistic. Which is part of the reason why we don't want to go back to the original translation. And when we do, we get confused because it says her tent. And we're like, fuck, why does it say her tent? I do not have time for this. Noah, what is going on? And we have all these practical ideas. It was adultery. It was castration. And they're all great. I think it's healthy that we look at these ideas. I think it's important. But the entire time we have to remember, none of this is God. None of it. Because the only reason why we're having these discussions about what this means and what that means and what this translation means and what this translation means is because a long time ago, hypothetically, you and I decided to banish God from this world so that we could create religion to find him. And I used to think this was insanity. I used to think this whole idea was insanity, and it just really proved just how whacked we are as a culture. And hey, don't worry, we're whacked as a culture. But it's not necessarily because of this. Not really. That there's a method to the madness, the scaffolding of this world is giving you a really good clue. Come on, James. If it's not that one, then it's this one. If it's not this one, then it's that one. And this clue is that the first thing we have to do when we get on this holodeck is to banish God. I think it's actually a kind of a requirement. And I say that because it's what we've done. It's not because, well, this is what we should do. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying this is what we've done. Hang on a second, I have to pull this up. But it always shifts when I pull the window. Forgive me. All right, hang on a second. I'm gonna get this window going back up, yeah. I'm going. Oh, I'm just screwing this all up here. Okay, we're gonna cancel that if I can get my mouse back. Yeah. I'd like to welcome everybody from St. Louis out there. Anyone from St. Louis? Yeah. I'd like to welcome everybody from Canada. Welcome. Glad to see you from Canada out there. I'd like to welcome everybody from. All right, let's see if we can do this again. Wow, this is hard. It's gonna break out of full screen. No, already was broken out of full screen. So you first have to drag it. Oh, and I got to switch back to get it there. So here we go. All right, let's. I still don't have it, but that's because I had to come back. The power of doubt. Here we go. Where was I? A long time ago, we were discussing something. Yes, I said that we banished God. How dare you, James? I said that we banished God, but we did this for a very important reason. Look at what all the Psalms are saying. All these Psalms are describing the machine. That the very machine that we as society created, we created because we banished God first. That by banishing God, we create God. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all of my ways. What does that actually say, really? Right? You hem me in, behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Psalm 139. Can you see how we are creating the machine? What are the characteristics of God? 1, omniscience, knows all. The blockchain will know all of your transactions. Your ledger will be open for everyone to see. God is available to everyone. It's not an exclusive deity. Omnipotent, omniscient, all-powerful, controls every gun, controls every legislation, controls every law. There's a world court built into the fabric of the World Economic Forum. The world court's already been built. It's already been built in Jerusalem. It's already been built. It's been there for decades, long before the Olympics, right? We created God out of the vacuum that we made, the amnesia of not knowing He's here, and knowing the propensity of us to have that Martin Luther spirit, which is not to uncover the amnesia. No. It is to write a God that we deem better. We are upgrading God by creating this state. A one state, a singular state. And all of these characteristics are the characteristics of God. And they've been birthed out of our amnesia. And we're leaking belief. We leak belief every day. That we find these other things to believe in instead. You know who will not doubt dinosaurs, people? Do you know who won't? Paleontologists. They will never doubt dinosaurs. It's not going to happen. And do the math. You know why. How could you? How could you doubt dinosaurs? Dinosaurs have a trinity. How can you doubt them? They got a triceratops. There's a triceratops. You're not going to doubt a triceratops. It's a plant eater. It's a vegan trinity with a tail. And you're going to reject that? Why, just because a little Allosaurus scares you? Come on. Paleontologists will never doubt dinosaurs. I've seen them. One used to live down my street. She's been applying for a job at the Smithsonian for over 12 years. Shaped her entire life around meeting the right people to have the right recommendations to get her a seat inside that church. Church. Hebrew, cheruka. I'm just making that up, but it'd be cool if I did know that. But church, inside that church. And she moved away a few years ago. Why? Because they hired her. They hired her. And she drove a Jeep. She loved it up here in the mountains. It was her favorite place to live. And she left that to go to Washington, D.C. And she had on the tire of her Jeep one of those mud covers for your tire. And it had a dinosaur. And it was probably like arugula or some kind of expression with R or rar in it, right? It's probably something like that. And I would never want to take that away from her. Why? Because Suzanne is a 12-year-old girl who's living her dream. She's just taller. All that's happened is that she's taller. That's all. And I'm the one who's insisting myself upon saying, well, she has to only believe in things that I think are real. And I have to say I think are real because I'm a zetetic. Because I cannot sit there and look you in the eye and say, well, I'm the only one that knows the cosmology of this place. Everyone else is stupid, but I know. Because I can't do that. Because this is built into my mechanics. The scaffolding of my humanity requires that I Martin Luther the fuck out of this place. And let's not uncover it. We could write our own story here. It'd be so much better. Because this other story, pretty sure it involves a lot of calories and self-reflection. Yeah, and I don't really want to self-reflect. And I want you to think about what the Ark really meant. Because if you were only allowed in the Holy of Holies one time a year on Yom Kippur, and if you were the only dude in the entire place who knew the name of God, and that you were only allowed to utter this name once a year inside this tent, seated on the throne of the mercy seat. Now you tell me, you, as the high priest in the Holy of Holies, in your tabernacle, right? Let's picture the tabernacle in the wilderness, right? Basically, a giant carnival tent with a barbecue, with free barbecue. And some of the widest sheets you've ever seen, some of the most colorful fabrics you'd ever seen. For people would come for miles to say, what's going on here? It's like, we're a religious barbecue, and you can come here and sacrifice your animals here. Yeah, and we'll do something with the meat. We'll feed some homeless people. And, we need to bring us alms. This tent ain't free. You know what I mean? See those hooks on the staffs there? Those are silver. Yeah. Yeah, so you got to bring us some alms. And we'll cook barbecue. We'll collect the blood. And in there, that's the holy place. That big tent there, yeah, you can't go in there. What do you mean? No, you can't go in there. Those are the people running the barbecue. You'll screw it all up. What is that, bread in there? Yeah, we got bread. Yeah. You're going to get some of that bread. But you're going to have to come back on this day. So if you come back on this day and buy your ticket and come into the Coliseum, this wandering carnival, we'll give you some barbecue. You can worship God. It's a win-win. And you've created this gypsy wagon. And it's fantastic. What else are you going to do? There's no internet, right? Even fishing is hard, right? This would seem like a pretty good deal. And you'd be like, well, how do I get in there? And if you were ever to be indoctrinated through the right blood, because it's going to come up through your the mother's blood. I don't know when that exactly started, but if you are indoctrinated into the carnival, if you are a gypsy, then you may be able to have a descendant of you be so cleansed that they can go into the first tent, just the first one. And if you were over 40 and you could devote yourself to studying and participating in the Talmudic talks, you could take a look at what was soon to become budding texts but until then were all oral history. You could participate by hearing the rhymes and the songs of this language and the mantras that were given in the throat. Most of the Talmud was poetry, wasn't it? Which means most of it was meant to mimetically spread itself by the sound of the words. Right? Roses are red, violets are blue. God likes barbecue, how about you? That rhyming convention was part of the ceremony, part of the carnival ceremony itself. Now you've gotten into the outer tent. You can approach the shewbread. Holy shit. You can actually see the candelabra, the tabernacle. You can see all these things. But you still can't get inside the Holy of Holies. You can just get in the holy, right? So you have the outer church, the people participating in the barbecue. Then you have the holy. And then you got the Holy of Holies. And that's one guy. And that one guy can only go in one time a year. And that guy spent his entire life kissing so much desert ass, desert stanky, sweaty ass, to be the person that gets to go into that Holy of Holies. Do I see anyone disagreeing? Does anyone disagree? Because you know that that's how it had to happen. That the one who played the most politics was the one that was the Holy of Holies. I'm wondering if people even do disagree. Like, well, no, James, the purification ceremony would raise them up like Joel Osteen, right? That it would raise them up like Tammy Faye Bakker. That it would cleanse through the process of spiritual interviews. That the human resources of God would definitely make sure that the dude in the Holy of Holies was legit. And I don't think that's the case at all. I think that the dude that made it into the Holy of Holies understood politics and the mental mind more than anyone else, which is why he was able to out-simulate everyone to even bestow that gift. And on Yom Kippur, he walks into a room that no one else can ever see, ever. And he sees a throne. He sees a throne. He calls it an ark, and he's not even lying. But when you and I look at it, it's a throne, and it looks just like an Egyptian chair. It looks just like Tutankhamun's chair, I think. I think it's him. Give me a sec to look here. Tutankhamun's chair. That it has the same gilding with the same cherubs. I'm trying to pronounce that right. I'm not. And that the Holy of Holy dudes, the only one who knows the name of God, considers that throne is his. Now, freak out if you want. Oh, that's so sacrilege that he would sit on the chair. That's the most sacrilegious thing you could ever heard. Fine, call me, tell me, write me through email, whatever, tell me how wrong I am. But I don't think that's wrong. Because what is the Ark of the Covenant really doing but giving humanity a throne? It's giving humanity a throne and wrapping melanin, i.e. tent, and these were like otter skins. This is the thickest tent you could have to make sure that no light came out. And keep in mind that the holy part, just the holy part, was covered in gold. That it had acacia wood wrapped in gold inside of that tent. So you had a tent, and then inside the tent you had a room made out of acacia wood. Then inside that room you had another room, also made out of acacia wood. It also had its own tent. It also had its own covering. And that the dude, the Yom Kippur, I think instinctively felt, if I sit down on that chair, he wasn't even thinking bad. He wasn't thinking like, fuck all these guys, I want to sit on that chair. No, he was thinking, oh my God, it's a chair. The guy that told me the name of God, he didn't tell me it's a chair. But how could he? He wasn't supposed to talk about it. Holy shit. What did he do? What did he do in here? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Of course, he has his prayers to guide him. He sits in the chair. He sits in the cherub. He sits in the exact same thing that's placed outside the Garden of Eden that's stopping you from entering into the gates of heaven. This sounds like a sermon, but fuck, it's true. He sits in the chair. And why does he sit in the chair? Because he believes it all. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he believes it all, and he sits in the chair because he thinks God's going to talk to him when he sits in the chair. Why? Because that's what the Hebrew says. And so he sits and he waits. And God speaks to him. God speaks the same language that God has had since day one. Silence. And God chooses this language of silence because it is the only tongue that man cannot corrupt. That if God was to give you a word on the seat, you would fuck it up because you would go out and you would tell Martin Luther and he would say, oh, well, when he said this, he really meant this. He was really speaking in Pig Latin. Labilus, flabulus, cabulus, mabulus was what he really meant. And so the true word of God, silence itself, silent under witness, by the way, but the true word of God could only be received on the mercy seat and could only be received in the dilation of expecting to hear a sound. And the lesson that you go through as that receiver, you come out of the tent, what are you going to tell everybody? Hey guys, so look, it's a chair. And I sat down on it. It's like, you sat down on the chair. It's like, well, I did it respectfully. I sat down in that chair and God didn't say a word. Is that what you would tell everybody? The whole carnival is counting on you. The whole carnival is counting on you. And if we do that well, we can upgrade. And we could turn these tents into brick walls. We can build a stone version of the same thing. We can have a kitchen that's not running itself out of a food truck, but is actually an industrial kitchen, says the man on the seat. And the man on the seat is the God to all those people, because all those people decided, here's the rule, none of us can see God, none of us can approach God, none of us are holy enough to enter into his sacred bread chamber. It's like, yeah, you can have God's breadsticks, but only if you're holy enough. That he knew that this is what people needed to believe in God. Because they were creating God all over again. And this process is necessary. Do you know who will never doubt the Apollo program? It's people that love NASA. They'll never, ever doubt the Apollo program. Do you know who will never doubt God? It's the people in church. Do you know who'll never doubt germ theory? Virologists. Do you know who'll never doubt government? Politicians. Do you know who'll never, ever, ever doubt orders? Soldiers. The power of doubt is a right. It's not a privilege. It's a right. The power of doubt is a throne inside a room that no one else can go in. The power of doubt, my friends, is your holy of holies. It is your holy place, and only you know the name of God. Only you. And doubt is the scepter that you hold. Moses had a scepter and horns. The horns are the crown. Moses was able to witness the faces of God the same way the Holy of Holies, the high tabernacle priest, could witness the mercy seat. That it takes a certain kind of sovereignty, a certain kind of self, to embrace the language of God, to embrace the true throne of God, which is your own pelvis, to embrace the horns of God, which are the ventricles in your brain. The ventricles, the third ventricle, is horns. And they're full of liquid crystal. And all of the people around you are insisting that we can paint over this reality, that we can translate how scary and terrifying this story is of making us have all this power and all this sovereignty, that we can paint a different story. And the first thing we're going to have to do is burn the heretics, is burn the ones that are trying to destroy our religion. One thing that you know about science is the exact same things that you know about religion. Science, like religion, like Martin Luther, prefers height over accuracy, doesn't it? That science would rather show you a new height than show you the truth. And the reason why for that is not necessarily the fault of science, nor is it the fault of Martin Luther, nor is it the fault of the Holy of Holies, because the Sovereign One who sits on the mercy seat knows the truth, that everyone around him is insisting that it be translated into German. And that's the only way the people could accept the truth. And that we can't go back. We can't go back and say, hey guys, look what I found. We have to say instead, look what this means. Look what this means now. Look what we can build on top of this idea. And it doesn't matter if the idea is truth. Guys, Uhura died today. An actress on Star Trek, right? And I want you to know that I don't know of another industry that celebrated the loss, not of someone in their industry, but of someone that was pretending to be a character inside of a story in their industry. And that NASA is on full half-mast today because the very principle, the very essence, the instrument, the human instrument of their belief died. And it wasn't an avatar, it wasn't an actor, it wasn't a story. It is the entire thing, the entire truth of space. Dies in Uhura. And her body goes into an ark. An ark. And it is protected like a chest. And it is preserved, and I guarantee you one day, dilithium crystals and Uhura will be mentioned as scientific proofs for something. I guarantee it. And if you doubt me, look at Einstein right now. Look at how Bohr disproved all of that 6 years later. Look at how no one cared. No one cared. And think back to the mercy seat and see Einstein inside the Holy of Holies going, there's a chair in here, and I'm supposed to be in here for an hour and a half. And my feet are tired. I'm old as shit. I'm going to sit on that chair. That's going to be weird. Man, am I going to burn in hell? Yeah, I might burn in hell. I'm not going to sit on that chair. But God isn't talking to me. I think I'm supposed to sit on the chair. Hey, should I sit on the chair? Should I not sit on the chair? Should I sit on the chair? Shit, I only got like 45 minutes. I got to make a decision here. Meshuggah, am I going to sit on the chair? You're not going to sit on the chair. I'm sure that happened a long time. And I'm sure that some of the high priests sat on the chair and some of them didn't. And some of them never imagined that anyone would ever have the nerve to sit on the chair, just like some of them would never imagine that anyone didn't sit on the chair. And no one will ever know because we've secreted the melanin in exactly the right way to where the only thing that's allowed to happen here is progress. That the only thing we're going to do different is we're going to swap out the tents for stone. It's about the only thing that we're going to be able to pull off and do right now. Yeah, Oive's right. Oh, thanks for the tip there, Arlos. I have a book I've got to finish reading before this next presentation comes out. Really trying to get that in by Wednesday. I'm just as excited to just keep talking about this stuff. So I'm looking forward to it too. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little talk. This little talk on the mercy seat there. And I think that's... Oh, let me just say this. Mankind's final frontier, like if you really think about it, the final frontier of man is doubt. It's doubt. That we don't need to explore space travel. We don't even... I'm all for us exploring the ocean, by the way. But even more important than exploring the bottom of the ocean, even more important than colonizing Mars, we need to colonize fucking doubt. We need to colonize doubt. And when we can consider that a valid science, we're going to be all set. We're going to be stellar at that point. So let's embrace the doubt. Let's embrace the final frontier. Doubt. The final frontier. These are the voyages the starship Prue My Lips. On a 5-year mission to seek out new lies and expose them for the mercy seat that they truly are. Anyway, see you guys later. Hey, God is in the room. He's been talking to you the whole time. His language requires zero translation. He is giving you everything he needs in the sound, right? And that sound is silence. Every answer you need is right there. Don't translate it. Don't. Just listen. You guys have a beautiful day.